This is Tyrone Poole, two-time Super Bowl champion. You are listening to The Sports Circus with my man, Sal.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA, prime Angus, and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes, as well as those massive half-pound Wagyu burgers. Best I've ever had. Probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call. Find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. Yes! All right, welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. Everybody also on our independents. Thanks for joining us on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, WOW, Charter, and independent cable television affiliates, plus Hotel TV, where applicable, and Chicago food favorites on Facebook. And by the way, folks, right from the very top, our friends over at Vacation Buddies have a couple of nights in Las Vegas, Branson, Missouri, or Orlando, Florida for you if you can answer this simple trivia question. Which NBA superstar has won 6 NBA titles? Is it A, Magic Johnson, B, Shaquille O'Neal, C, Kobe Bryant, or D, Michael Jordan? Call 888-576-5777. 888-576-5777. 888-576-5777. If you know the answer to that simple trivia question, which NBA superstar has won 6 NBA titles? Is it A, Magic Johnson, B, Shaquille O'Neal, C, Kobe Bryant, or D, Michael Jordan? 888-576-5777. Contact Vacation Buddies right now. And remember, they are not a part of this radio station, but they want to give you a couple of nights in Vegas, Branson, Missouri, or Orlando, Florida. Go ahead and give them a call right now, 888-576-5777. All right, let's jump into this, folks. Let me ask you a question. Of course, I'm asking myself a question, but I'm asking you, and I know I can't hear you unless you respond at info@thesportscircus.com. What do you think about the idea of athletes having privileges that others don't have? It seems remarkably obvious to me, but then again, that's just me. Now, back 100 years ago when I was playing sports, I really didn't have much privilege. But in today's time, because all the money that's floating around, it seems like the money has skewed things quite a bit. And so today I want to focus a little bit about this athlete privilege thing, because I really believe it's alive and well, and I think it's getting worse, honestly, getting worse than what it was and what it's ever been with all this NIL stuff. And so you can look at it however you want, whether this guy gets arrested here and then he's put out on a $10,000 bond and he's got a gun. He's chasing somebody down the street down in Florida, right? We've seen this one. We've heard about this on Pick Your Favorite Network. And it just seems like when these alleged athletes or former athletes, it almost seems as though the law turns a blind eye to them, largely speaking. And I'm not going to just say one or two here or there. No, I just say generally speaking, it seems like for whatever reason, it's that way. And I remember, and I can't tell you too much about this, but I remember driving from Las Vegas down to Texas, and I got pulled over outside of Amarillo, Texas on my way down to Dallas. And it happened to be the draft time. And so Yeah, I was literally going 1 mile an hour over the limit. I was doing 66 in a 65. And I was in a hurry, but I wasn't in a hurry. At the same time, I'm trying to stay awake because I had just driven for the last 23 hours. Actually, less than that. It was probably about 16 hours, whatever the hell it was. It was all night and then partway through the next day, whatever. And so I got pulled over maybe an hour outside of Amarillo. And what I found interesting is the cop pulled me over, and I have my press credentials, and I just kind of have my stuff sitting out on the seat because I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to bring with me to this particular event that I'm going to, which ones I'm going to bring. And I have my hats from this network or that network and all this other fun stuff. And so when the cop pulled me over, he goes to the passenger side of the door of the car. And he said, well, do you know why I pulled you over? I said, no, I really don't. Maybe you'll tell me. He said, well, you were speeding. I'm like, speeding? Really? I wasn't aware that I was speeding. And if I'm not mistaken, I actually thought I had my crew set on the speed limit. And this one, all you people driving up and down Interstate 15, you can identify with this one. Everybody listening in on 101.5 and 107.3 FM between Vegas and LA. So I had this cop ask me these questions, and I'm thinking, geez, I mean, I thought I had it set right on 65 miles an hour. Anyway, it wasn't. And so he starts to ask me these irate questions. He was getting a little irate nonetheless. And he's starting to, I guess, get a little disturbed. And I'm thinking, geez, I don't know what I did wrong. But anyway, it happens to be that he looked down and goes, oh, are you with the media? I'm like, well, why do you ask? He goes, well, I see this and I see this. And he picks up my press credential. And I said, as a matter of fact, I am. And so then he turns to me and says, where are you going? And I said, oh, I'm headed to Dallas right now. I have a special event. And so he said, oh, where are you going? I said, well, I can't tell you. It's a private event. And it was for the Dallas Cowboys. He goes, oh, really? Could you tell me who they're going to draft? Because this was, I think, the day before draft day. It was, whatever, 4 or 5 years ago, whatever the hell it was. Anyway, I said, look, I don't know what's going to happen there. And even if I did know, I couldn't tell you because I'm not at liberty. And let's face it, that's not my job. My job is to report on things, and it's not to second guess people on things. But he started asking me 100 sports questions. And I didn't think he was going to give me a ticket anyway for going literally 1 mile over the limit. But what I found was the dialogue changed dramatically when there was something of personal interest to that particular police officer. And so, or you can call him a state trooper, I guess, because that's what he was. I don't know. My point is, I almost found that because I had the press cred and I had the hat, I had the, I forget, it was a Fox NFL hat or something, or a CBS NFL hat. That's what it was, CBS NFL. Anyway, what I found interesting was that because I had those things with me and I happened to be involved to one degree or another, I found that I was given almost, I wouldn't say given a pass, but the treatment that I got would have been, in my opinion, a little bit different if I was just a regular schmo driving down the street and I didn't have that stuff with me. And of course, the conversation would have probably been a hell of a lot shorter too, but I can't really disclose anything. And by the way, it was a private event, so I can't get into the details. And that's just the way you have to keep it. That's the media etiquette. And so I just felt that was some kind of a little privilege that I actually got because I happened to have the credential. And so what about all the people, all the athletes that are out there? What about all of them that maybe they have their ball cap, or maybe they have their part of their uniform, maybe they have something with them that says that they're part of a team or something like that, whatever that means. Something that the people could actually identify with. That's where I'm going with this whole process today, with today's show, is because I believe that there absolutely, unequivocally is a privilege for athletes and the like over the regular people. And look, I've got plenty of data here that will, beyond a reasonable doubt, give you the idea that, yeah, that sure seems to be the case. And in fact, I'm going to start with something, and this was an article from NinerTimes.com. And this was a couple of years ago. It's interesting because you can see how this has evolved. Now, I've looked at this for the last 20 years. I looked at all kinds of data from the last 20 years. And I saw how it got, I guess, more lenient and more lenient and more lenient for these athletes and whatnot over time. Because as the money got bigger, well, it seems like the leniency got a little bit more liberal, if you will. Right? A word that I typically don't use on this show. But you understand. My point in all of this is that as the money got greater, the financial interest got bigger, then the leniency seemed to have gotten bigger. Now, I haven't done a paper on this. I haven't done a research project on this. I'm telling you from my own research. Now, I've been researching this for the last week or so, trying to find something that indicates, yes, there actually is, without writing the paper. There's plenty of data out there to prove it. And so each and every one of us can understand the idea that, hey, if we get pulled over or somebody wants to question us, well, we get questioned seemingly in a different way than those that are in some visible positions, if you will, whether you're an athlete or you're a music star or a movie star or a TV star or whatever the hell it is. Anyway, when we come back, I want to jump into this Niner Times thing because this is actually quite interesting. Folks, don't go anywhere. Lots more to come right here on the Sports Circus. Back in a few minutes. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. B-E-E-P-I-N autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by your friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. Folks, make sure you check them out. Yes! Oh, you know, they've been with us since the very beginning. We always want to give them the super applause. And a big welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our affiliates, including our friends over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM. Thanks for waking up with us. Over in Auburn, Alabama, thanks for joining us on your drive home on 1230 on the AM dial, WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves. Plus our friends throughout the heartland, all the way out to the West Coast. Everybody driving between Las Vegas and Los Angeles, the LA Basin. Thanks for joining us on Highway Country Radio, 101.5 FM and 107.3 FM up and down the West Coast from Los Angeles up to Seattle, even to Anchorage, Alaska, over to Honolulu. CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the Yankees, 49ers, and Alabama Crimson Tide. And a big welcome back to everybody at Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, WOW, Charter, and independent cable television affiliates, as well as everybody on Hotel TV where applicable. Now, folks, by the way, in case you're just tuning in, we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to get their shot at a couple of free nights over in Las Vegas, Branson, Missouri, or Orlando, Florida. The trivia question that you have to answer is, which NBA star has 6 NBA titles, 6 championships? Is it A, Magic Johnson, B, Shaquille O'Neal, C, Kobe Bryant, or D, Michael Jordan? If you know the answer, call right now, 888-576-5777. That's 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies wants to give you 2 free nights in Las Vegas, Branson, Missouri, or Orlando, Florida. That's 888-576-5777. Call them right now. Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they sure want to give you a couple of free nights in Las Vegas, Branson, Missouri, or Orlando, Florida. 888-576-5777. Call them right now, folks. All right, they get the super applause just because they could. All right, folks, getting back to this Niner Times. I haven't actually read anything from them. I was just giving you an overview of what my opinion was. But they say athletes must be held accountable despite privilege. Now, mind you, this was written a couple of years ago, and we're going to fast forward to today's time. But I want to give you what was the climate before the whole NIL thing. So they say, this was by, let's see if there's a particular, Bryson Foster. We're going to give Bryson Foster a little bit of credit here because Bryson took the time to write this one out. All right, quick little applause there. And so Bryson says, in our society, people look up to athletes and often feel they could do no wrong. Professional athletes are considered larger than life. The mindset is harmful and in turn creates athletes' privilege. Athletes can get away with defrauding their followers or breaking laws, but because of their wealth and status, they can escape several consequences. If a civilian acted how some athletes do, they would face legal and societal consequences because they lack the prestige athletes carry. 3 main groups are at fault: fans, athletes and teams, upper management, etc. So, again, fans, athletes, and teams' upper management. Fans allow the athletes to act however they want because the team has to win a game. The fan creates the divide because of the way that they view the professional athlete themselves. Now, athletes, of course, are heroes for many, and kids want to be star players. So fans are happy watching sports and celebrate when their teams succeed in the final seconds especially. So sadly, if a star player gets in legal trouble, We get angry at the system to protect our society. Now, that's just their statement. Me personally, I don't get angry when they get in trouble. Actually, I do get angry when they get in trouble because I want to see them end up with the same punishments that everybody else would, but they don't. Anyway, Bryson continues on with, people excuse indecent behavior because, quote, everyone makes mistakes, close quote. But the average civilian is not afforded the same treatment as athletes, and the athlete has to play or the team cannot win. Now, for example, more than 24 women accused newly acquired, this was back then, of course I said this was a little bit ago, it was Deshaun Watson from the Cleveland Browns of sexual misconduct during a massage sessions. So the NFL gave Watson an 11-game suspension, a slap on the wrist for violating its personal conduct policy. Watson said he was sorry for all he had done and put women through. And he had said, quote, I'm truly sorry to all the women I have impacted in the situation, the decision that I've made in my life that put me in this position, I would definitely like to have back, and I would continue to move forward and grow and learn and show that I'm a true person of character, and I'm not going to keep pushing forward, close quote. I'm going to keep pushing forward, close quote. So fans came to Watson's defense, donning jerseys and holding signs up saying, free Watson, and then bleep them, well, essentially women. I won't say it because we had to keep this a G-rated show. And so, unfortunately, the fans basically celebrated what he did with these women rather than condemn him, or they said, well, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to give him a pass on this. And before his first NFL game of the 2022 season in Houston, a fan took to social media wearing an egregious shirt while making light of the problematic situation, saying, I won't say that word, but it says essentially, female, I need a massage. So you can imagine for a female dog what the word would be, but you understand what I'm saying. So behavior like this shows that certain fans care more about winning games than character of the players representing their team, and athletes are also to blame for this mindset. They do no wrong and apologize to appease the outraged public, which we eat up and then forget about. Now, just remember, Olympian swimmer Ryan Lochte claimed he and 3 teammates were robbed at gunpoint while competing in Rio de Janeiro in 2014. And the truth was that Lochte lied about the robbery after he vandalized a gas station bathroom. During an interview with Good Morning America, Lochte said he took full responsibility, quote, I did lie about that one part and I take full responsibility, close quote. Now, if ordinary citizens did this, they would be charged with a misdemeanor for lying to the police. However, the athlete got off due to his privilege. Well, here's another thing. The average person, the ordinary citizen, would likely not be on Good Morning America talking about it either. So anyway, the management of the teams and companies perpetuates athletes and privilege. And remember that whole FTX crypto collapse thing. Okay, that's a prime example of this. And Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of that crypto superpower FTX, that whole organization, hired many high-profile athletes to promote the brand, making them global ambassadors. All those athletes were alleged global ambassadors. Now, I remember this very, very clearly. This came up many times when it first happened. And so, Tom Brady, Steph Curry, Naomi Osaka are among the athletes who peddled the brand to the followers, and FTX was allegedly secretly moving customers' cash to an investment fund, defrauding their users. A lawsuit was filed against the athletes involved with the company. And of course, Bryson says we need to hold those accountable, demand answers when they do wrong, and make sure that they right their inequities and do not repeat them. And this starts with athletes and team management. When Atlanta Falcons quarterback Michael Vick was arrested for dogfighting in 2007, he was sentenced to nearly 2 years. In 2015, Michael Vick appeared before Pennsylvania House of Representatives fighting to pass an animal rights bill. In another example, the University of Texas fired men's basketball coach Chris Beard after his arrest on domestic violence. Now, these actions go a long way towards creating a society that holds athletes and coaches accountable. And if you would be appalled, by the way, by your neighbor committing a crime, you should feel the same way about athletes. We have a long way to go, but it starts with putting aside athletes' fame to see them for who they are and pushing for accountability. Hey, that's pretty good stuff. That's pretty good stuff, Bryson. And by the way, that was compliments of Niner Times, NinerTimes.com. Really good stuff. And so as I look at it, we have an ongoing issue with this whole privilege of these athletes. And like I said, when I got pulled over, just because I was involved, and still am, involved in the media, it seems as though I got a little bit of preferential treatment. Not because I was seeking it, just because the state trooper happened to see my credentials and my ball cap, et cetera, and so forth, which is 100% wrong. I mean, I was doing 1 mile over the speeding limit, and I don't know anybody in America that would really complain too much about somebody doing 1 mile when cars were passing me like I'm standing still. I'm 1 mile over the limit, and those other cars are 10, 20, 30, 40 miles an hour over the limit. Not too many people are going to complain when you're 1 mile over the limit. But anyway, that's another story for another time. Once again, back here in a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello, Americans. It's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
What's up, Doc?
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by the Sports Circus. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guest recorded shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeart, Stitcher, Deezer, plus a whole bunch of others. Also, make sure you check out the partners page. Lots of great partners over there. And one of those is Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. Folks, if you can't make it over there for some great food, check them out at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. And you could read all about the creation of this amazing sandwich, the Italian beef sandwich. And also, these are the originators. 117 years ago, they put it together. It's a legend ever since. They've been in business since 1938 and still doing it. So if you can't get over to 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy for some great food, guess what? You could pick it up online as well. Again, that's alsbeef.com. Yes! All right, welcome back to everybody at Deviant Radio. You know who you are. Now, in the last couple segments, it's been about the athletes' proposed, or I should say, or seemingly privilege here. And now, I'm here to give you a little bit of what you may know, but maybe some of what you don't know. And this goes above and beyond what is reported on, pick your favorite television outlet, radio outlet, whatever, this network, this show, that show. And so it starts out with background, then we basically start at the old 30,000 foot and drill down to maybe 1,000 feet or 500 feet. So we get a little bit more on a macro level down to a micro level. So, and even if you search Google and their AI agent or AI application, whatever, they say when looking for athletes' legal privilege, athletes are not exempt from the law and generally receive the same legal right and responsibilities of other citizens. Yeah, I don't think so, Google. I don't really think so. I think we've already kind of proven that when we see it on a regular basis. But then they go on to say, however, the high profile and public status of athletes can lead to perceptions of preferential treatment, sometimes referred to as athlete privilege. And this privilege can manifest in various ways, including access to better legal representation, leniency in sentencing, and a faster return to their careers after facing legal issues. I'll tell you what, Google AI is a hell of a lot bigger than that. And I think a lot of us that are listening to this and thinking about it would absolutely agree. And they say, here's a more detailed look. Athletes' privilege in the legal system. So access to resources, high-ranking athletes, high-profile athletes often have financial resources to hire top legal, which can make a significant difference in their legal outcome. And they say that there's leniency. While athletes are not above the law, some believe that they receive more lenient treatment due to their fame and public support. I absolutely 100% believe they do. Faster return to career? Absolutely. That is an absolute privilege. Athletes may be able to resume their careers more quickly after facing legal issues, even if it means avoiding jail time. Yeah, and that we go back to some of the other athletes that have gone this route. And there's a whole long, lengthy list of those. And some that are more favorable in the public eye versus some that aren't. And we think of the ones that aren't. Mike Tyson wasn't for a long time. Mike actually ended up going to prison. But then you take other guys. In my opinion, folks, I think Ray Lewis should have gone. But that's my opinion. But conveniently, Ray Lewis didn't. Apparently, he didn't do nothing. I don't know. Who knows? I wasn't there. But it sure seems to me, in my opinion, good old Ray should have. Nonetheless, there was a nice fast return to his career, and nothing really happened. Now, did it? So public perception may, I don't know, the public may be more forgiving, though. And that's where I was going with the whole Deshaun Watson thing in the last segment. And that was absolutely true. And you could find that all over, pick your favorite news outlet, social media, whatever. I mean, honestly, it's an abomination to the legal process. So the legal rights and responsibilities are another issue. Due process. Athletes, like all citizens, have the right to due process at a fair trial. Well, that's in the Bill of Rights. And also, they have right to counsel, like everybody else. Athletes have the right to legal counsel, and their legal team can advocate for their interests just like everybody else. The problem is there's an imbalance when it comes to resources, monies, and media and everything else. That seems to be a complete oddity amongst the people because we never see that. But when it comes to athletes, that's commonplace. I mean, that's not an oddity whatsoever. And what about accountability? Athletes are accountable for their actions, but it just seems like sometimes they get the big end of the stick, if you know what I mean. Now, Athletes' Bill of Rights, what the hell is that? Now, they say, while not legally binding in all cases, athletes' rights are often recognized in the context of sports participation. So these rights include the right to a safe and free environment from abuse and discrimination. What about when they're actually causing the crap in the first place? What about the people they're causing it to? That's right, we'll get back to that in a little bit. And of course, this whole Athletes' Bill of Rights includes the right to equitable treatment and benefits such as access to equipment and supplies. Well, what about everybody else? That doesn't seem fair and reasonable. And then again, I always ask, what is fair and reasonable? Because that's the only way we're going to come up with some kind of answer of something. Now, of course, there are social and cultural factors too. So the status and wealth is an issue, and athletes' elevated status and wealth certainly can influence their legal outcomes along with how the public feels. So the public adoration and support for the athletes can create a protective barrier, which we saw in the whole Deshaun Watson discussion in the first place, shielding them from certain consequences and whatnot. I don't know about that. Anyway, institutional practices, there's another thing. The way athletic departments handle athletes who face legal issues can further perpetuate the perception of privilege. No question. And of course, that ongoing debate says, hey, look, some argue that athlete privilege is unfair and that athletes should be held to the same standards as everybody else. I think every red-blooded American would feel the exact same way about that one rather than saying, show me the money! And I'll show you a path to freedom. I mean, others argue that athletes' high-profile status can lead to different outcomes in the legal system, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're above the law. Well, we know that, but what do they have? Show me the money! That's right. That's what they've got, more than most people. And of course, some athletes may receive preferential treatment within that legal system, particularly when facing legal issues or allegations. And this can include, of course, reduced sentences, which we've certainly seen that, leniency, and more resources for legal defense. I don't like any of this. And folks, I don't know if you do, but this stuff drives me crazy. I mean, you think about that whole Bill of Rights. What is the athlete's Bill of Rights? Oh, yeah, they've got one too, apparently. I've never even knew about this when I was playing. You know why? Because back then, we didn't get paid hardly anything. That's right. All athletes, according to this alleged athlete's Bill of Rights, all athletes have the right to participate in an environment that's free of emotional and sexual and physical abuse. What about the abuse that they bring onto others? All right, we'll get back to that. Train and compete in a safe environment, free from inappropriate physical hazards, bullying, hazing, harassment, stalking, violence, or similar threats, and train and compete on equipment. Okay, I get all that. The problem is they are not above the law. And you keep looking at it over and over and say, well, why does sports have a Bill of Rights? I mean, look, you have the right to inquire. Think about this. You have the right to inquire of athletic directors of your school as to the athletic opportunities offered by the school. You have the right to apply for athletic scholarships. Yeah, it doesn't mean you have the right to get them. I think certain people get that privilege. That is a whole nother discussion. And you see, a lot of it depends on the institution. A lot of it depends on the state. A lot of it depends on a lot of things. But people like you and me, we don't get those things. Oh, why would we get that? Oh, hell no. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So if you're a former NFL player and you're brandishing a gun, which there has been somebody that has done this very, very recently. And, they ended up with and they were seen on video. I'm not going to name the person. They were seen on video apparently chasing somebody down the street with a black handgun. That's right, a black handgun. Apparently somewhere, there were shots fired, but conveniently, those shots fired, although apparently somebody was watching and there was a camera or whatever, apparently those were conveniently, I wouldn't say removed, but conveniently not videoed. Now, why is that? How does that happen? Because in this day, everybody is a videographer. Everybody has a smart computer. I mean, a smartphone, but it's actually a full-blown computer in their hands. And so you're trying to tell me that nobody else caught that video. Nobody else saw anything. Ask me, I didn't see nothing. You can ask anybody. I didn't see nothing. It's one of those things. And so what I would love to know is why certain players for certain squads in certain cities just get the blind eye turned. And, oh, yeah, we'll give you a $10,000 bond. And by the way, that $10,000 bond, what does he got to pay? 10% of that? $1,000. And then he gets to go home. Everybody else would be held in prison or held in jail until further notice. That's how that stuff works, folks. And I'm going to come back with something from sportslitigationalert.com when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
What does he think I am, an imbecile?
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com's upcoming guests and prior guests. And also, across the top of the page, check out the store tab. Lots of cool items there in the store, the Sports Circus store. Lots of hats and t-shirts and sweatpants and coats and hoodies and coffee mugs and travel mugs and pillows and mouse pads, all kinds of neat stuff, all embroidered with the Sports Circus logo. Very clever logo. Info at thesportscircus.com if you want to learn more about that logo. Anyway, mention your Ringmaster Sal for an extra 10% off of whatever you pick up at the Sports Circus store. And remember, I sent you. Yes. All right, welcome back to everybody on our television and radio affiliates. Everybody streaming as well. Now, back with this athlete privilege stuff. SportsLitigationAlert.com, not too terribly long ago, had written something very interesting, and this was by Rob Lang and Scott Goldschmidt of Thompson Coburn LLP. Of course, that would be a law firm. And there's what they're saying here is the Terrence Shannon case. Participating in college sports is a right, not just a privilege. Now, I don't know about that, but you know what changes all that? Real simple. Name, image, and likeness. And of course, in Shannon versus Board of Trustees of the University of Illinois, and that was about a year ago, the court enjoined the University of Illinois from continuing its suspension of the best player on its basketball team. A federal judge found the player had the due process right to immediately play for his team while more fair processes proceeded. And this result was greatly impacted by the advent, of course, of the NIL that I just said. And unfortunately, which can transform participating in college sports from a privilege to a right. And that in itself, in my opinion, I don't think so. It's not a right. You've got to earn your position. You absolutely have to. So anyway, maybe you're reading it wrong. Maybe I'm hearing it wrong. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. Maybe you're hearing it wrong. It doesn't matter. End of day, NIL changed a bunch of stuff. Now, Illinois addressed the Shannon case outside of the Title IX part of the all that. And in case you don't know, that's the whole sexual orientation, sexual discrimination situation. Okay. So they're not going that route. Now, the case, of course, should come as a warning to all higher education institutions to review their policy, especially relating to incidents involving athletes outside of Title IX. And of course, they say, we suggest that institutions of higher education review whether they have multiple policies that could apply to an athlete in this situation and identify as inconsistencies or failures to provide adequate process and the same. Any institution that has not reevaluated their student-athlete policies in light of name, image, and likeness should consider doing so at this time, according to this particular law firm. Now, of course, a little bit of background. Now, Terrence Shannon, but you can call him TJ, came into the 2023-24 season, NCAA men's basketball season, as one of the top 5 players in the country, touted as the candidate for Player of the Year and all this other stuff. He was widely projected to be an NBA lottery pick, in which was his 5th and final year playing ball. Now, TJ rolled through his first 11 games of the season, scoring 30 against Missouri and blah, blah, blah. Now, also, Illinois said that it learned into the season, shortly in the season, that he was charged with a crime for an incident that occurred in Kansas several months earlier. Plot thickens. And of which Illinois was aware almost from the outset, but they didn't do anything about it. So, now we're saying a few months into the process here, the University of Illinois suspended TJ pursuant to a policy administered by its Department of Intercollegiate Athletics. That's the DIA, Department of Intercollegiate Athletics. In case you hear me say DIA, that's what it is. Specific to the athlete. So TJ's draft stock plummeted as his basketball career looked over. So this guy got himself in a little bit of hot water because he was involved with some kind of criminal activity over in Kansas prior to, but Illinois still took him. So TJ, however, took the rare step of challenging the Department of Intercollegiate Athletics and in the suspension itself in court. And most athletes in his position have felt like they had nowhere else to go. So TJ's case will give athletes more ammunition to do so moving forward. So Illinois decided that the underlying incident did not fall within the Title IX jurisdiction, as Illinois' athletic director explained the day after the Department of Intercollegiate Athletics issued the initial suspension, which was later extended. And there were 3 different processes applicable to TJ's operating in parallel. How do you like that? So the DIA, we have the Student Conduct Policy, right? The SA Handbook, University of Illinois Athletic, fightingillini.com. Check it out there. The university process applicable to all students, of course, student process, which also applies to student athletes. That's the UIUC, Student Disciplinary Procedures on illinois.edu. Criminal proceedings, of course, Douglas County, Kansas. There's another issue. Now this is an interstate issue because cross state lines. So these 3 options widely varied in terms of process and rights afforded to TJ or lack thereof. So the DIA policy, essentially no rights, decision made behind closed doors without any investigation, as the DIA, by its own admission, is not an investigative body. Also, the student process, more rights than the DIA policy, but still lacking rights, lacking in all college processes, such as the right to cross-examining the accuser, subpoena power, and to have control directly as an advocate. So further, the hearings are not in public and not court reported. And finally, the criminal proceeding itself in Douglas County, Kansas, full due process rights there. So there was a problem with this whole situation, and literally a month into this investigation beyond, the DIA suspension of TJ was fully in effect until the criminal charges were resolved and the university initiated the student process against TJ. And of course, he filed his lawsuit shortly thereafter, maybe a few days after that, which was conveniently removed to federal courts. Why? That's right, because you got something going on in Kansas. You got a kid playing basketball in the state of Illinois. Now you're crossing state lines. So now it's not intrastate, it's interstate, which means it becomes federal. And so there's a ruling on this. Of course, the United States District Court Judge Colleen Lawless herself, a former athlete, entered a preliminary injunction requiring Illinois to put him back on the court right away. Gee, how convenient. How incredibly convenient for that to happen. Of course, so we can play games against, a couple days later, against Rutgers, whatever. And the judge found that TJ proved the relevant injunction factor, including irreparable harm and likelihood of success on the merits as to his procedural due process claim under Section 18 or 1983. Judge Lawless enjoined University of Illinois from enforcing the DIA policy against him and further enjoined Illinois from suspending him from the team, quote, without at least affording him the protection of the student policy, close quote. I don't know, folks. This whole thing just stinks to high heaven. I just don't like this, and there's a whole bunch of other rulings and parallel and whatnot. This is privilege to the nth degree. And they say the aftermath, according to Sports Litigation Alert, TJ played the rest of the season after resuming play just a couple of weeks later, of course, when he did play that game against Rutgers. He led Illinois to a great postseason success, become late first-round pick in the NBA for the Minnesota Timberwolves, whatever. And, of course, after a 3-month investigation, Illinois terminated its student process against TJ without any sanctions for insufficient evidence. How convenient, of course. And TJ was interviewed by investigators during this process, something that never occurred prior to the DIA suspension. Illinois dropped the investigation entirely. That was according to the Four-Letter Network, but you can call them ESPN. And so what happened over in Douglas County, Kansas? The jury found that he was not guilty on all charges after a short deliberation, and he testified in his own defense at the trial and maintained his innocence as he did from the beginning. So, the lesson learned? First, name, image, and likeness has the capacity to, in certain circumstances, transform the privilege of playing college sports into a right, which cannot be as easily taken away without process. NIL-related cases are moving through the dockets of various states, and institutions should stay on top of them and continually review their policies upon significant developments in NIL-related law. See, this is that whole name, image, and likeness thing. We go back to privilege. Now, if you're a star player or whatever the hell it is, if you have some kind of standing within a team, within a university, within a pro team, whatever the hell it is, if you are some kind of an athlete, or I'm going to say a musician or an actor, actress, whatever, politician, we've seen all of these kind of things before. We've seen computers kind of disappear, disks get wiped, disks get lost, laptops get conveniently ignored, and all this other garbage. Well, end of day, there's some kind of privilege going on here, folks. The average person, the average Joe or Josephine, doesn't get those privileges, in my opinion. This is the premise of today's show. As I look at what's going on in the sporting world specifically, as we talk here on the Sports Circus, focusing solely on sports, it is remarkably obvious that the increased TV contracts, the increased name, image, and likeness monies, the whole $2.8 billion ruling from the House for the universities and these athletes and whatnot, they actually, in my opinion, have destroyed high school and college sports as we know and gotten those kids to make business decisions on the field, on the court, on the hardwood, whatever the hell it is, on the ice, all of those. And so what happens? Who loses? The American public loses. The viewing audience loses. People say, oh, no, they don't lose. No, because now hits are not being delivered as they were once upon a time on the ice, on the field, on the court, whatever the hell. No, they're playing business games out there. And then seemingly the umpires, in my opinion, seem to get involved because they're the cheapest people to employ on the field or on the court or on the ice or whatever. Well, it seems like there's game fixing going on in plain sight with all these betting options out there. And why is it that the football games, they have to turn their lineups in to the casinos 90 minutes before kickoff? Same thing with Major League Baseball games. Why do they have to turn in their lineup cards an hour or so before first pitch? Same thing with opening tip-off for the NBA games, etc. and so forth. Because money is involved at every level of this, folks. Every level. I don't care if you heard this today, tomorrow, last week, last month, last year. It's the same thing. Garbage in, garbage out. And the pawns are the public. And they're stupid enough to pay for all these subscriptions, to pay for this big package to watch this team or that package to watch this sport, whatever. Folks, be smart with your money. Seriously, be smart with your money and watch what's going on right in front of you, because I believe they're cheating right there in plain sight. That's going to do it for today's show. I'm out of here. I've lost my mind. We'll see you in 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
I gotta barbecue, yo!
If I was your mother and you had a drug problem, I'd grab you by the ear and make you call and get help. You can be in treatment tomorrow and start to get clean in 7 days. Follow Mom's advice and call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. Write this number down.
800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. That's 800-814-8628.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.